I don't know if you can read it, but I shall repeat. As you can see, I have begun with the word which is not difficult for any Indian to understand. It's called Om. What is this word Om? I will discuss with you at some length later on. It is one of the most important words in the Veda. Then you find three other words: Bhuhu, Bhuvaha, Swaha. If you read together, it is Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha. Now, what does it mean? You must remember that there is a view that Veda has no meaning. They are only words put together in some kind of a form. I should like to tell you to throw away this view. Every word of the Veda is meaningful. It has a meaning. And when anybody speaks of the Vedic mantra, you should always try to understand what it means. These three words are extremely important words in the entire Vedic literature. These three words indicate a short formula of three great things they have discovered, the Vedic rishis discovered. And whenever you recite this mantra, there is a kind of a system in India to recall this great discovery made by Vedic rishis of these three great things. They discovered that this physical world that we see is not the only thing that exists in the world. To recall this great discovery made by Vedic rishis of these three great things, they discovered that this physical world that we see is not the only thing that exists in the world. This physical world is a very vast world. You must have seen now many films which give you the origin of the universe and wonderful pictures of the vastness of the universe. You have seen how from the beginning, which is all dark into darkness, as it were, something happened, explosion took place, and this vast universe began to develop very rapidly. And when you hear the word galaxy, that itself is a tremendous thing. And ordinarily you can't imagine what a galaxy is like, where millions of stars are clustered in one galaxy. And then when you are told that there are millions of galaxies, our imagination bursts out. And yet we are obliged to imagine it, because this whole vast world, physical world that we see itself is such a huge thing. All that is physical. That physical, that discovery, they discovered this vastness of the universe. From the way in which the Vedic rishis wrote and what they wrote, it can be seen that these rishis had visualize the vastness of the universe. And therefore, when they describe the whole universe, they use the word Brihat. Brihat means vast. All that physically visible universe is contained, is indicated by the word Buhu. Then they discover that there is an invisible world behind this world, behind this vast universe. There is even a vaster universe. Now, what does it contain? What is its stuff? What is its substance? What is its nature? The knowledge regarding it is also given in the Veda. And that is called Bhuvaha. It is also known as Antariksha. Something that is more than physical, more subtle, and more than this, we shall come to it later on when you try to understand the great discoveries made by Vedic rishis. And because of these discoveries, what they wrote is called Veda. It's called a book of knowledge. So you must know what was the content of this knowledge. It was knowledge concerning the vastness of the universe, physical universe, and a more invisible universe which they call intermediate universe. And then they called another Swaha. Swaha is even higher. It has also substance, but of a different kind of substance. It has also a different kind of nature. So that Swaha is once again a very vast world, even vaster than the Bhuva. Actually speaking, these Vedic rishis had seen even more. And even vaster universes they had discovered, which are not often repeated, so I am not writing them just now. I shall later come to those words and write down for you still some higher and higher words. Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. These are other words. Therefore they spoke of Saptaloka. There are 7 words. What is the nature of these 7 worlds? All this is described in this great book. Now you must know at the very outset that in our modern world there is a view which is a very powerful view, which says that what exists can be seen only in form of matter. Therefore, there is a view that only matter exists. In terms of these people, what exists is only Bhuhu. They might say there is no such thing as Bhuvaha, nothing like Swaha, nothing like Maha, nothing like Jana. These are all imaginations, fictions. As students, you must be seekers. If there are great human beings who have spoken of other worlds, invisible worlds, supraphysical worlds, the worlds which can't be seen by your ears and eyes and by perceptions of senses, you should not conclude that these rishis were only speaking of fictions. You must examine yourself. This is what science teaches us. Science tells you that you should not take anything for granted. If somebody says, I have seen UFO, you know, there are today many stories of UFO, unidentified flying objects. Some people say that they are fictions. Some say they have seen physically. As a scientist, you can't say yes or no. You should accept only when you verify yourself. If Vedic rishis have said there are worlds other than the physical worlds, you have surely not seen those worlds. You have not seen Bhuvaha, you have not seen Swaha. So you can't say immediately that yes, what rishis have said is right. Nor can you say what they say is wrong. Without your own knowledge, if you say they are right or wrong, it is unscientific. The attitude which we must develop is that if anybody says something that he has seen, he has experienced something, you should not immediately throw it out, saying it must be imagination. That is unscientific. You should be ready to examine and test it. And Vedic rishis tell you, they are aware of this fact. They know that the moment they speak of Bhuvaha, Swaha, Maha, people will say, we do not know, we cannot believe in it. Therefore, they have given the methods by which you can be trained to see them. You know, just as there are many, many distant stars which you can't see with your naked eyes, but they exist, even if you can't see. And many of these stars which are distant, you can see through telescope. But even to see through telescope, you need to be trained. It's not as if you just go to telescope and you can immediately begin to see. It requires training. Now, according to Vedic rishis, there are methods by which capacities can be developed. And you can experience, you can travel into these worlds of Bhuvaha, Swaha, Maha, and so on. Now, when this kind of claim is made, our responsibility becomes even greater. As scientists, we must ask ourselves, what are these methods by which we can develop our experiences? Now, that knowledge of development of your means of experiences, that knowledge is also given in the Veda. That is the greatness of this book. It not only speaks of these different worlds, it also tells us how we develop our capacities by which we can see them, we can experience, we can travel in them. We shall see later on when we have time, and if you have curiosity, we shall develop this subject vastly. But for the moment, you can only say that in India there is a tradition that when you recite this particular mantra, you should recall the great discoveries made by Vedic rishis of these three great worlds. Not all the seven worlds, but at least these three great worlds. Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha. The physical world, the intermediate world, and a still higher world. It's not the highest world, remember. It is a higher world. The highest is Satyam. But that we shall see later on. But at least these three worlds are described in every recitation of Gayatri Mantra. Om Bhur Bhuvaha Swaha. Now begins this Gayatri Mantra. Now let us see, as I told you, always ask the question, what does it mean? So let me first of all read out to you every word and give you the meaning, and perhaps you will yourself be able to give the meaning by putting these words together. Tat means that. Savituhu means of Savitri. Savitri means the sun in Sanskrit language. It is one of the words used to describe the sun. Whenever the Vedic rishis wanted to describe the sun, there were so many words. As you know, in Sanskrit, there is profusion of words. For the same object, there are hundreds of words. Like lotus, for example. I don't know how many words do you know to indicate the word lotus in Sanskrit, even in your own language. You ask yourself how many words there are to indicate one object called lotus. There are so many words, at least 100 words there are in Sanskrit language to indicate the word lotus. Similarly, to indicate the word Surya, the sun, the word Savitri also is used. So, Savituhu means of the sun. Varenyam. Varenyam means the most blessed, the choicest, most beautiful. You know, in Sanskrit language, the word vara is very important. Vara is that which is liked, cherished, relished. That which is chosen. That which is considered to be boon. Even for boon, mujhe vardhan do. So the word vara is a boon. Give me the boon. So great gift, the cherished gift is called vara. Varenyam, the most blessed, the choicest, the best. Bhargaha is a light, luster. Devasya, of God. Dhimahi means we are meditating. Dhiyo. Dhiyo is Dhiyaha. Dhiyaha is intellect. That's why we have in Hindi Buddhiman. The word Dhi is used because of Buddhiman, Dhi. Yo means which. Naha, ours. prachodayat, may be driven, may be guided, may be directed. So I have told you the meaning of every word here, and now you can put these words together in a very systematic manner, and I'll tell you rapidly, then you can again see how I have collected all these words. We are meditating on the most blessed luster and light of that God who is known as the Sun, so that our intellect may be directed by that one. So let me see once again. We are meditating upon the most blessed luster of that light, of that God who is known as Sun, so that our intellect may be directed by it. Now you'll be able to place all these words together and make the whole sense complete. It simply says, we are meditating. In other words, the Vedic rishis had made a great discovery of what is called the process of meditation. You must have heard this word meditation very often. But what exactly is this meditation is not sufficiently clear to most of us. In the Veda, there is a big science of this process of meditation. It's also a knowledge given in the Veda. The Vedic rishis found out that our intellect has one very great power. Our intellect is capable of developing thoughts. This is not a very difficult thing to discover. All of us have intellects, and all of us have experience of thinking. We are all aware of what ideas are. You may not be able to define what is an idea if I ask you the question suddenly, but that doesn't matter. All of us understand what is the process of thinking. But we don't know the power of thinking. That thinking has many kinds of powers, and that these powers can be developed at higher and higher levels.